Welcome to Shatter.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. I was rinsing dishes when it happened. The kind of moment that doesn't just interrupt your day, it resets your entire life. I heard her laugh. Not the polite chuckle she gave me over dinner. No, this was full-bodied, bright. From the other room. I dried my hands, walked quietly toward the living room, and stopped behind the wall just out of view. God, you're such a dork, she said, her voice dripping with that playful intimacy I hadn't heard directed at me in years. Then came the line. His voice, deep, casual, arrogant. So, when are you going to tell him? She paused. Then, as if it were nothing, he's comfortable. Safe. You know? Just convenient. Not exciting. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. I just stood there, staring at the paint on the wall like it was the only thing that could hold me up. She didn't know I was home early. Didn't know the Bluetooth hadn't reconnected, so her call played on the living room speaker. She just sat there, curled on the couch, talking to him, planning something, laughing. And I realized, in that moment, I wasn't angry. I was awake. Awake to a reality I had refused to admit. To years of slow erosion dressed up as routine. To nights of I'm tired, and mornings of cold coffee and colder silence. I turned, walked back to the kitchen, and picked up my phone. Not to call her out. Not to start a fight, but to start a plan. Because if I'd learned anything from her, it was this. Control doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from patience, from precision, from knowing exactly when to disappear. I cleaned the rest of the dishes, sat down at the table, pulled up our shared calendar. 3 days from now, she had a retreat. Some wellness spa 2 towns over. Perfect. By the time she'd be soaking in eucalyptus steam and lying about group meditations, I'd already be gone. No notes. No speeches. No begging her to explain why. Just silence. The kind she'd hear for the rest of her life. The next morning, I was already at my desk by sunrise. Not to work, to investigate. I scrolled through our shared photo album, the ones she used to care about. For weeks now, I'd been the only one uploading. Her last edition? A brunch photo, all aesthetic lattes and blurred smiles. But I looked deeper. Metadata. Geolocation. It wasn't our usual place. It wasn't even on her calendar. I searched the address. A downtown rooftop cafe known for its hidden garden atmosphere. A place for secrets. Then I checked her texts. She hadn't deleted them. She just renamed him in her contacts. Mel. But I recognized the number. I'd seen it once in a group chat from work, back when she was proud of her team. Mel was Ryan. The same Ryan she mentioned once. Just once. Back in April. He's harmless, she'd said, brushing it off. A little flirty, maybe, but funny. I scrolled their thread. It wasn't new. It had depth, momentum, shared jokes, night photos, screenshots of dinner menus. Then one line that made my fingers tighten. I love that I don't have to be anything with you. And her reply, fast and casual. That's why I come back. I sat there, absorbing it like smoke. It didn't burn, it chilled. Because now it wasn't just a call. It was architecture. A second life she'd been carefully curating. But I said nothing. I closed the app, took a deep breath, then opened a private browser tab and started researching. Legal terms, asset division, data collection admissibility. I remembered our prenup. She hadn't wanted one. My mother insisted. Trust is earned, but protection is planned, she'd told me. And now, I was grateful. At lunch, I sat across from her. She laughed about a podcast, complained about her boss. Her phone buzzed once, face down. I watched her thumb brush the edge of it, a quiet smile pulling at her lips. She didn't know I already had the login to her cloud, that I'd already exported her chat history, that I'd already booked a consultation with a private investigator. She thought I was still him, the man she could lie to softly. But I was already gone, just moving silently until it was time. At night, I lay beside her, listening to her breath even out. Her hand brushed mine in sleep. I looked at the ceiling, every muscle still. She was already with someone else. She just didn't know I'd heard it, and believed her. And that belief changed everything. The next evening, she went to her yoga class. At least, that's what the calendar said. I waited until the front door closed, then opened my laptop. The desktop synced automatically. Photos, cloud notes, location history, everything she'd forgotten to lock down. I didn't need to guess anymore. I had timestamps, screenshots, rideshare logs that placed her at places she never mentioned. boutique wine bars, a co-working space she never used, and once a hotel downtown. The same name appeared in every footprint, Ryan. There was a rhythm to it, a pattern disguised as spontaneity. Thursday classes that lined up perfectly with his meetings. Late-night coffee runs that never ended at a cafe. I wasn't chasing shadows. I was following her choreography, but I still didn't confront. Instead, I started curating, creating a quiet archive. Every piece mattered, because this wasn't about revenge, it was about leverage. Strategy, ensuring that when I moved, there would be no loose ends, no debate, no question of truth. That night, she returned late. Her cheeks were flushed, hair slightly undone. She kissed my cheek like it meant nothing. And maybe to her, it didn't. But I noticed the perfume wasn't the one she wore for me. This one was lighter. Something new. She asked if I wanted to order takeout. I nodded, sat across from her at the table as she scrolled her phone, smiling into the screen. She thought I was watching the TV behind her. I wasn't. I was watching her forget I existed. Later, I called the investigator. A woman named Elise. Quiet, professional. No judgment in her voice. Just efficiency. She asked for locations, times, faces. I gave her everything. She said I'd have my first report within 72 hours. 3 days. That's all it would take. I hung up and walked back into the bedroom. She was already asleep. One leg over the blanket, her breathing soft. Like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't fractured the foundation we built with her fingertips. But I didn't feel broken. Not anymore. I felt awake. In control. Focused. Because power doesn't come from raising your voice. It comes from being the only one who knows what's about to happen next. And I had just 3 more days to prepare for my disappearance. She left Friday morning with a suitcase and a playlist titled Reset Weekend. Wore her oversized sunglasses like armor and kissed me goodbye with theatrical ease. Her voice lingered on the phrase, "I'll miss you." It almost sounded real. But I didn't answer. I just smiled and nodded, then watched her car pull away, the taillights vanishing behind the hedge. I waited exactly 47 minutes. Then I opened the storage closet and pulled out the small, locked fireproof case she never noticed. Inside, my passport, the original prenup copy, birth certificate, and a USB drive. I placed them in a messenger bag, then moved on to the master bedroom. Her jewelry box stayed. Her perfumes. Her half-read novels. But anything with my name, gone. Drawer by drawer, I erased my presence with mechanical focus. Clothes. Documents. Photos. Even the shaving kit I kept under the sink. Every trace removed. By 11 a.m., the house no longer looked shared. It looked temporary. I booked a 1-bedroom downtown for 30 days under a corporate rental. Paid up front. No forwarding address. Utilities prepaid, and Wi-Fi auto-synced to my work laptop. The fridge stayed stocked, but with the things she hated. Anchovies. Black coffee. No oat milk. No vegan anything. Her world would remain untouched. But mine had already moved. By noon, I removed myself from our joint bank accounts. Not closed, just rerouted. Payroll, bills, investments, all shifted to my name only. Silent severing. No alerts triggered. She wouldn't notice for weeks. Then came the social cleanse. Instagram. Unfollowed. Shared playlists. Deleted. Photos backed up, then removed from public view. I changed the passwords to everything I owned. Not hers. Just mine. And I set a new rule. Anything that required a password she once knew, now had one she never would. Then I packed a final box, not with clothes or tech, but with fragments. The letter her mother wrote us before our wedding. A postcard from Barcelona. A movie ticket from the first night we said, "I love you." I didn't burn them. I didn't rage. I just taped the box shut, labeled it archive, and left it in the attic like a fossil from another life. By the time she checked into her spa weekend, I was already gone. Not in hiding, in plain sight. Just outside the perimeter of her imagination. She thought she still held the stage. She didn't know the curtains had already closed. Sunday evening came with a chill. Not outside, but in the way she moved around the kitchen, humming a song too new to hum without reason. She didn't see me standing in the hallway, just swayed to the rhythm of her own deceit. I watched the way she poured wine, her hands steady, her smile effortless. It struck me. This wasn't a woman caught between guilt and impulse. This was someone rehearsed, practiced, comfortable in her duality. The investigator's report arrived in my inbox at 7:42 p.m. sharp. Elise had titled it plainly, Subject Activity Summary, Phase 1. I read through it while she laughed in the next room at something on her phone. First page, time-stamped photos. She and Ryan, no disguise, no distance, walking out of that rooftop cafe, arms brushing, smiles exchanged. They didn't look like co-workers. They looked like repetition, familiarity, like this wasn't the first meeting or the last. Second page, GPS overlays. Rideshare receipts. Her girls' night, 2 Thursdays ago, ended 3 blocks from his condo. No return ride. No messages logged after midnight. Just silence. And then, the next morning, a selfie from our balcony. Captioned, Sunday reset. She had posted it while I made her eggs. But I didn't stop reading. Third page, surveillance stills. Hotel lobby. Same hotel. Different night. Different dress. Same man. They looked comfortable. Worse, they looked routine. I didn't feel anger. Just adjustment. As if a crooked picture finally snapped straight on the wall. After I closed the file, I walked back into the living room. She looked up, smiled, asked if I wanted to watch that documentary I'd been mentioning for weeks. I said yes. Sat next to her. Close enough to smell the wine. Close enough to see the faint trace of a hickey below her collarbone. She had tucked it beneath her necklace. But I saw it. She laughed twice during the movie. Her hand found mine once. Reflex. Not affection. Emotion trained into her from habit, not heart. I let it happen. Because now, everything was a study. Not of her. Of my next move. That night, I slept in the guest room for the first time in months. Told her it was work, an early Zoom call with Europe. She nodded. Didn't press. I lay in that unfamiliar bed, the investigator's PDF still open on my laptop beside me. Highlighted sections. Geotags. Hotel bills. All lined up like chess pieces. She thought she was playing a game of hearts. She didn't see that I had already changed the board. Tuesday morning arrived dressed in normalcy. Coffee. Her favorite granola. A kiss on the cheek as she grabbed her tote. She said she might be home late. Team meeting, last minute. I nodded. Let her believe the illusion still held. She walked out the door humming something upbeat, wearing the blouse she only wore when she needed to be seen. As soon as her car pulled away, I opened the encrypted folder Olivia had shared. New photos. A parking garage. Ryan's car. Her walking toward it. She didn't check her surroundings. Didn't rush. She trusted her lie now. It was embedded. Lived in. Her truth. Timestamp. 6:14 p.m. Location. Midtown Lofts, Level B2. Inside, Olivia's team had captured them through the elevator's security cam. Their expressions were unmistakable. No anxiety. No restraint. The kind of familiarity that only builds over time. This wasn't spontaneous. It was scheduled. And then, something else. A hotel booking under Ryan's name. 2 nights, not 1. The reservation matched her calendar block labeled Leadership Offsite. She'd even packed an overnight bag I hadn't noticed until now. But I didn't spiral. I sorted. Every receipt. Every image. Every lie aligned. By noon, I'd updated the legal folder I kept in my private cloud. Labeled each file. Dated each screenshot. I wasn't collecting revenge. I was building architecture. And when it fell, it would fall clean. That evening, I cooked her favorite dinner. Chicken piccata, roasted asparagus, a bottle of Malbec we'd been saving. She walked in around 7, tired but smiling. Said traffic was brutal. The lie passed so easily through her lips I wondered if she even tasted it anymore. I asked about her day. She said the off-site planning was exhausting. But worth it. I nodded slowly. She asked about mine. I said I'd spent it organizing. Just clearing out some old files. She didn't ask which. She never did. After dinner, she leaned into me, her hand resting on my chest. Said she was grateful for how supportive I'd been lately. You make it easy, she whispered. And maybe that was the cruelest part. She thought she still had me. That this soft domestic mask would hold. That her touch would cover what I already knew. I let her fall asleep in my arms that night. Because I wasn't done watching her lie to me. And when it was time, I wanted to remember this exact moment. Not the betrayal, but her comfort inside it. The next few days were a performance. Hers, not mine. She smiled more, laughed louder, touched me with just enough warmth to suggest intimacy. But it all felt rehearsed. Every gesture precise, calculated, like she was directing a play where the audience could never see the backstage mess. Except I had the script now. I knew every hidden line. I continued my role, quiet and present. Her ally. Her comfort. But behind my stillness, pieces were moving. Olivia sent me the latest surveillance clips. Ryan and her, 2 blocks from our house, in a car with tinted windows, engine idling. Her face leaned in close. His hand on her thigh. They weren't hiding. Not really. Just confident in their invisibility. That was her flaw. Believing discretion was the same as safety. I backed up everything. Photos. Transcripts. Her shared locations. Her email confirmations, auto-forwarded to an address she didn't know I owned. Even her gym membership, canceled weeks ago, replaced by cash-paid day passes at a boutique studio near Ryan's loft. She wasn't being cautious. She was being clever. Clever doesn't win. Documented does. On Thursday, she asked if I wanted to go away for the weekend. Her tone was light, affectionate. Somewhere quiet, she said. We've been so disconnected lately. I agreed. Told her I'd book something. She smiled, relieved. Maybe she thought the danger had passed. That her performance had convinced me. But it wasn't reconnection she was getting. It was distance. Friday morning, I picked up the prenup. The physical copy. Clause 7 and Clause 11 were highlighted. Clause 11 was the key. Willful deceit, when proven by third-party corroboration, triggers immediate financial realignment and asset protection activation. My mother's language. Cold. Surgical. Effective. That afternoon, I opened a safe deposit box. Left a single manila envelope inside. In it, the report. Copies of everything. Redundancy wasn't paranoia, it was preparation. I booked us a cabin. Northern woods. No signal. No distractions. She loved it up there. Said it felt like a reset. And she needed one. She just didn't know it wouldn't come on her terms. Saturday morning, we drove out early. The sky was a soft blue. She sang quietly along to the playlist, her hand resting on my knee. For a moment, she looked like the woman I married. But that moment passed quickly. I couldn't unknow what I knew. She thought this trip was the beginning of healing. She didn't realize it was the beginning of her unraveling. And I would be there, calm and quiet, watching it thread apart. We arrived at the cabin just after noon. The air smelled like pine and rain. She stepped out of the car, took a deep breath, and smiled like it meant something. Like we were stepping into peace. I let her believe it. That was the point. Let her feel in control long enough to notice when it's gone. Inside, everything was clean, minimal. Wood panels, wide windows, no distractions. She wandered through the rooms, complimenting the place. Said it was perfect. Said we needed this. I nodded, answered softly, matching her energy. I didn't need to fake affection. I needed her to stay unaware. By evening, the sky turned gray. We sat on the deck, watching clouds gather. She poured us wine, leaning into me like a woman returning to comfort. Her head on my shoulder. She said it felt like the old days. That maybe we were finding our rhythm again. I let her talk. That was the beauty of silence. It invited her to fill it with confessions disguised as hope. After dinner, she lit a fire, curled up beside it with a blanket and her favorite book. I brought her tea, set it down quietly. She looked up at me, her eyes soft, like maybe this was real. Like maybe the mask she'd worn had fused to her skin and she could no longer tell the difference. She fell asleep on the couch. I didn't wake her, just sat across the room, watching the flames reflect off her face. She looked peaceful, but so does a fuse before it reaches the charge. That night, I stepped outside, phone in hand, and connected to the one bar of signal that flickered at the edge of the property. A single text to Olivia. We move next week. All assets aligned. Confirm timing. Her reply came instantly. Received. Package will be delivered on Tuesday. Legal's ready. I stared into the trees, cold air on my face. My pulse didn't race. I wasn't nervous. There was no thrill in this. Just resolution. Like closing the final page of a long book, one she didn't know was ending. Back inside, she was still asleep, her phone glowing beside her. I picked it up, scrolled to her gallery. More hidden folders. One labeled Notes. Inside, photos of handwritten lines. Letters, almost. Phrases she never sent. Wish I could be free. He never sees me. Maybe with you. I'm finally real. None of it surprised me. Just confirmed what I already knew. She'd written me out of her life long before she thought I'd notice. But now, I wasn't just noticing. I was detaching. Efficiently. Quietly. Without permission or apology. Morning would come, but the man she expected beside her wouldn't be the same. He was still there, but only in form. Emotionally, He'd already gone. Only the final step remained. By sunrise, she was already awake, humming softly as she moved around the kitchen. The smell of eggs and coffee filled the cabin like some domestic mirage. She kissed my cheek and called it a reset. A turning point. Said things felt light again. I smiled. Agreed. Watched her pour orange juice with the grace of a woman who had no idea a storm was forming behind her back. After breakfast, we took a walk down the trail behind the cabin. Trees arched overhead, filtering sunlight into strips across the dirt path. She reached for my hand. I let her. She spoke about the future, about repainting the guest room, about maybe a trip to Colorado. Her voice sounded rehearsed, like she was reading a script she hoped I'd believe. I didn't respond much, just nodded. Let her fill the silence. Her nervous energy mistook my quiet for reflection. In truth, I was already gone, my thoughts sinking with every scheduled call, every planned delivery, every signed page waiting in a locked drawer back home. When we returned, she took a nap. Said the fresh air had worn her out. I watched her disappear into the bedroom, door half closed like a secret. I waited 5 minutes. Then I retrieved the envelope from my duffel bag. 8 pages. Clean, calculated. Notarized copies. Prenup Clause 7 and Clause 12 highlighted. Photos printed, each marked with a timestamp. Her chats. Her locations. The dinner receipts. The renamed contact. The second cloud backup I'd kept just in case. I'd even included a list of purchases made to her hidden card. It was precise, not vindictive, just indisputable. I left the envelope on the nightstand, right next to her phone, where her hand would land when she reached for it instinctively. Then I stepped outside, walked to the car, and sat inside. Engine off. Air still. I waited. 10 minutes passed before the scream. Muffled. Guttural. Not shock. Recognition. The kind of sound you make when the illusion shatters before your eyes and there's nothing left to cling to. She didn't chase after me. Not immediately. But I knew she would. Not because of love, but because control is addictive and losing it feels like drowning. I didn't drive away yet. I wanted her to see me sitting there. Calm. Finished. Let her realize this wasn't rage. It was removal. She stepped out, envelope clutched in her hand, hair wild, eyes hollow. She opened her mouth, searching for a word big enough to stop what had already happened. But I rolled the window down, just an inch. Then I said it. Low, measured, final. It's done. And then I drove away. By the time I reached the city, she had called 5 times. No voicemail, no text, just the desperate, looping ring of someone who couldn't believe silence was the final answer. I didn't pick up. Didn't block her either. That would have given her clarity. I wanted the uncertainty to remain. Let it echo. I parked 2 blocks from the new apartment. Small, quiet, nothing like the life we shared. And that was the point. I entered with 1 bag. No keys exchanged, no photos on the wall. Just white space. A beginning, stripped of apology. That night, I opened my email. The law firm had filed the documents. Automatic process, no negotiation. The prenup executed like a machine. She would keep her car, her clothes, a modest sum. Everything else reverted. Accounts locked. Access revoked. No theatrics. Just paperwork. I opened the folder on my desk. Our wedding photo. Not digital. A print. Heavy frame. We were smiling, holding champagne, confetti frozen midair. I stared at it for a moment. Not out of grief. Out of clarity. That version of her never existed. Or maybe she did, once. But she'd been replaced long before I noticed. I dropped the photo in the trash bin. Not angrily. Just permanently. Her messages changed tone by morning. The calls stopped. Texts came instead. Short ones. Then long ones. Then one with a photo of the cabin, still empty. Her caption read, "This wasn't how it was supposed to end." I didn't reply. 2 days later, Olivia forwarded me screenshots. Ryan's accounts had gone dark. His firm received an anonymous tip. Internal audit opened. Investigation pending. His LinkedIn status changed from senior lead to nothing at all. 1 domino. That's all it took. I didn't press the final button. I just watched it fall. Friends started messaging me. Subtle at first. Questions disguised as check-ins. They'd heard something. Rumors, probably. She hadn't posted in days. One of her friends posted a story, just a glass of wine and the words, "When masks drop." The unraveling had gone public. And I didn't say a word. I wasn't vindictive. I was gone. Last night, she sent one more message. A voice note. Quiet, strained. Said she was sorry, that she wished she could explain, that she never meant for it to get this far. I listened once. Then I deleted it. I poured myself a glass of water, sat by the window, and I realized something. She thought she'd broken something in me, but she never touched the part of me that mattered. She only ever knew the man I was willing to show her. And now, even he was gone. Forever. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.